Hey guys, and welcome back to the Learn to Real Estate. My name is Scott Buitta, and again, we are going to be discussing, this is episode 002, and we are working with the Modern Real Estate Practice by Dearborn, the 20th edition. Okay, and we're going to be talking about further fundamentals of real estate. Today's date is January 4th, 2021. Let's welcome in the 2021 with a bang. Hopefully it'll be a better year. I will have the link for the book that we're using to help produce the training course for you. Today we're going to be talking about supply and demand. And as we know, supply demand dictates all markets. And there is always a buyer, there's always going to be a seller. It depends on the supply demand dictates the price of that property. But the supply is based on costs, materials and labor. If things are expensive, people are less likely to make something. Also, the supply factor has to do with government controls. The more government controls are, the less likely or the more deterred someone is into producing something. Shall we call it red tape? If red tape takes X amount of time, some people fall out of doing things. And also the finance rates. Sometimes the rates are high, and that keeps people from wanting to develop or purchase. Okay, so the controls on supply are costs, which are the materials and labor. These are all the basics. Government controls and taxes, red tape, and the financial rates. Those control supply. On the demand aspect, which is part of the demographics is the number one, but has to do with population. More people there are in a certain area, and a certain area being demographics. The more demand there'll be on housing. Also, employment has a big factor on what people can afford, and the employment in the area. More people that are employed in an area, the more likely they're going to be looking for housing in that area. So the demand is population, the types of people, and the employment factor. Okay, that's the supply demand. We're going to be talking about real estate investment itself. The advantages of real estate investment, which is a pretty neat thing if you go back in time, and how bubbles are made, but it's always gone up, just like the stock market, but there are differences between real estate and stock. And I'm going to go over those with you. So with real estate, we have a rate of return, okay, which is pretty steady and secure. But with real estate investment, almost guaranteed a rate of return. Whereas with stocks, you're not guaranteed that. You also have control. When you own a piece of real estate, you are in control. Okay. If you're in ownership with multiple parties or partnerships, again, the control is within that group of people. There aren't outside entities controlling you. It's the most control. You also have appreciation, up in value. That's one of the major benefits of being involved in real estate. You can look forward to values going up in time. The equity build means when you own property and you're paying on that property, you almost have a somewhat of a forced savings by paying back that loan with equity and interest, but you're always having a build of equity. Okay, that's why we call it equity build, where you're paying back the principal on borrowed funds. You can also use your property for leveraging. If you want to leverage a piece of property for more money, as long as you've been maintaining payments and values have been improving, and or you have generated improvements on the property, then you can use that piece of property and leverage for more money. Okay, so leverage is an advantage to real estate, and there's also tax benefits. Okay, offsetting taxes and also write-off of interest rate, for example, are a benefit. The capital gains on primary residence is a benefit. Okay, so with real estate investment, these are a list of benefits for you, advantages of owning real estate. Okay, going also through the disadvantages. Okay, the disadvantages, you'll have a risk, and you also need to oversee that the property is being cared for, bills are being paid, all right, which is called oversight. Sometimes if you're not available or you're not around, you can lose property to default. Nobody's paying the bills, things go in default. So you need oversight, and you need to manage this oversight. In regards of risk, a risk factor is, again, losing a property due to default. The risk factors of losing a property is again dependent on employment. Okay. Also, over leveraging can be risky, so there is risk involved. Also, liquidity. When we say liquidity, with a stock, you can go and cash it in, and it will be readily available to you. Gold, you can cash it in; it'll be readily available to you. Cash, you can take that and buy something and get something immediately. So liquidity is something, how long it takes you to get something back from it. With real estate, it takes time. There's paperwork involved and buyers. Okay, so the capital in regards of necessary processing takes time, unlike selling a stock. As you know, that a closing will take X amount of days, X amount of weeks, process of verifying, and many people involved. So there's a liquidity aspect, takes time. That's a disadvantage. Okay, these are not all of the basic fundamentals of them. Okay. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is when you have property, what do you acquire when you buy a piece of property. You know, and it's called bundle of rights. Bundles of rights are given to you when you buy a piece of property, gives you the right to possess. It shows that you have ownership, the right to control within the statutes of the law, the right to enjoy and use without upsetting your neighbors. You can exclude people or things besides government from being on your property, and people have to have rights to go on your property. You have to give them rights or accept them onto your property. So you have the right to exclude. And you also have the right to dispose. This is the bundle of rights. Dispose means you have the right to sell or transfer, as long as you're a legal entity. So again, this is an important term to remember, is bundle of rights. Right to possess, right to control, right to enjoy, right to exclude, and right to dispose. Okay? I have a word here that's kind of important. It kind of goes with the rights of property. It's called appurtenance. Appurtenance, okay? When you buy a piece of property, there may be, and there usually is, appurtenance, which runs with the land, and those are rights associated with the land. Other people say appurtenance. Appurtenance, right there. That is something that is usually referred to on an exam. Runs with the land, usually rights associated to the land. And some examples I have down are easements, water rights, uses in particular to the land. Okay. Their grandfather, their rights, okay? And again, these are examples. Grandfather rights, particular uses that have been granted to the property, water rights, easements, okay? Appurtenances, okay. What else we have going on here? I wanted to talk to you about what is land. You know, we talked about real estate, and then you think, what is land? Well, land is something, and this is the description. It's immobile. You can't move land. You know, try moving an acre down to the center of Earth. You know, and take with it the air rights. You know, it's immovable. It's in reality indestructible. You can't destroy an acre of land. You can dig, do all sorts of things, but it'll still be an acre. And also, land is unique. Okay? So, land is immobile, indestructible, and unique. Kind of a little definition. In regards to the real estate, it's land plus permanent structure above and below the surface. Okay, that's the term of real estate. You have land, and then you have real estate, which is land and the permanent structures above and below. Real estate, permanent, attached to land. Right? Without the structures, you have land. With structures, you have real estate. Okay. Some rights to remember are water rights. A lot of people have a river or moving body of water going by their place that they're abutted to or attached to, called riparian rights. River, moving water. Remember, riparian, river. Littoral, lake, body of water. So those two always come up. All right, these are water rights. Riparian is river, littoral is lake or solid body of water. Okay? Some things that go along with water. Accretion, which is land building or adding. Accretion is adding to the land. Avulsion is removal of land. Accretion, adding. Avulsion, removal. Okay. Now the difference between avulsion and erosion has to do with the speed of the removal. Erosion is a decay of land slowly, and the avulsion is a removal of land suddenly. Okay? So a big washout, a big storm. Avulsion. How can you remember avulsion? Add, accretion, avulsion. Avulsion is removal, erosion is decay. Okay? Okay. And those kind of go with your water rights. Okay, you have your real estate and land. And that's a good little piece. We'll get into some more on our next film. We have 17 minutes in. I like to go about 15 minutes. It's a good way to study. But just to go over, okay. This is January 4th, 2021. We went over supply and demand, which the supply has to do with the costs, okay, government controls and finance, availability. We have the demand, has to really do with the population, the employment, the demographics, types of people and how they move around. Okay. We have the advantages of real estate investment, which has to do with there's always a rate of return. You have control. Land, real estate always has an appreciation. There's always an equity built to it, okay, which is, I call that forced savings by paying off your principal. You can leverage. You have tax advantages with real estate, and then we talked about the disadvantages, which is having risk, caring for your property, also oversight and management. You know, when I say risk, also you have to think of liability. You know, how it's being managed, which again is part of this oversight, managing risk, kind of all going together. And again, liquidity. Sometimes you can't sell a house in a day. You know, sometimes it might take a year. Right? So liquidity is a disadvantage. And we talked about the bundle of rights, right to possess, right to control, enjoy, exclude, dispose of, or sell. We talked about appurtenance, which are those associated rights that go with the land, like a grandfather clause or easements, okay? And land, immobile, can't move it. Real estate is the attachment of something to the land. We talked about the water rights, riparian, littoral, the lake and river, lake, easy one. The accretion is adding. Accretion, add. Avulsion. It sounds like a tummy ache. Avulsion. you have to kind of think of something in your head what avulsion kind of relates to. It's kind of like a nasty name, avulsion. And that is a loss of land, a removal suddenly. Think of a storm, avulsion. Okay? And then you have erosion, which is similar to avulsion, except the erosion is on a slower basis. It slowly erodes, like a beach slowly erodes. Okay. I thank you very much. I hope you enjoy our channel, and if you could, please support us. And we will see you on our next video. Thank you.